Good morning. Today, 29th August 2024, we are going to discuss editorials. Today, editorial constitutes The Hindu, Business Standard, even from opinion also. Various article has been taken. First article here, positives and negatives of high private credit growth in India, how it affects. This article is discussed in detail. India is striving to become $5 trillion economy in the near future. There is one important area in financial sector we need to look after. There is a rise of private credit. This is the important area where we need to look. Traditionally, Indian credit market, credit has been taken from both banks and non-banking financial companies, NBFCs. But recent time, private credit, basically non-bank lending given by specialized credit funds. This private credit is emerging as a vital catalyst for economic growth. There is an issue with traditional banks. They come with a lot of terms. This private credit, they offers customized solution. Those who are borrowing money according to their need, this private credit being offered. So the flexibility that is being offered in this private credit, that makes a huge beneficial for sectors like infrastructure and real estate. In these sectors, infrastructure and real estate, large scale long term funding is very essential. But this is not always through conventional channels. Recent times, Reserve Bank of India, they gave a concern about rapid growth of this private credit. This is a warning. Why? Because there is an interconnectedness between banking sector and non-banking sector that could pose potential risk in the future. Now let us understand what is this private credit, how it challenges the banking sector. Basically, private credit, it gives a lot of flexibility as we discussed. Those people who are going to invest in the non-banking financial sector, even infrastructure and those sector, it needs, even real estate also, they need a lot of funding. If you go to banking sector, it is very difficult to get funds. But when it comes to private credit, there is a flexibility. So private credit, basically non-banking lending, funds are provided by private institution rather than these traditional banks. Adaptability with this private credit makes very attractive to mid-sized companies, even capital intensive sector like infrastructure, real estate, manufacturing. These industries require lot amount of investment. Suppose say petrochemical industry is there, they need investment of around 5,000 crores. So this gives a view to look after these conventional funding resources. In India, private credit investment, they are structured under category 2 of alternate investment funds category regulation. These private credit funds, they offer variety of financial solutions, providing credit to distressed debt, special situation, even venture funding also they will provide debt conditions. There is a growth in private credit in India in first half of 2023 alone. That means within 2 quarters, private credit investment grown to 5.1 billion across 63 deals. There is a average deal of size, each deal constitute of $8 crore. This represents compound annual growth rate of 28% since 2018. CAGR, this is very high, 28%. Why this is growing? Why? Because India's corporate bond market, bonding, bond, government issues the bond, even corporate sector issues the bond, they will raise the money. This bond sector, it is becoming underdeveloped because of the low rate of the bonds. This gap, low rate of the bond and then non-development of this corporate bond sector, this pushed businesses to seek alternatives, making this private credit a crucial source of funding, particularly for firms, that would otherwise struggle to secure financing in traditional bond market. How to manage the risk? There are different strategies that private credit funds use to manage the risk, even reduce the defaults. Implementation of with different conditions. What are all the principles that are being followed during the loan agreements? Those who are borrowing money, they need to meet specific financial metrics, even operational milestone also. The condition, they serve as a warning system. They allow lenders to identify potential issues before they escalate into future defaults. There are tight covenants typically, maintaining minimum cash reserves, adhering to specific debt equity ratios, even achieving revenue targets also. This kind of proactive approach, this gives lenders capital and even helps borrowers to stay on track financially, so that those who are borrowing will not go in default mode, those who are lending, they will not fall in bad debt manner. High net worth individual and private credit, basically those who are having heavy amount of money, they are called high net worth individuals. They want huge returns of money. When they invest in bonds, they typically get 0.5% or 1% over government bonds. There are different kinds of bond will be there with rating. Suppose say AA bond, B, BBB, B plus. These kinds of bond will be there. So bond will change according to countries, growth capacity, even credit rating capacity. There are certain organizations are there which gives certification, credit rating agencies, Moody, Fitch. These are all the credit rating agencies. These high net worth individual, they are mostly going towards private credit. Why? Obviously, they want more money. When going down this credit spectrum, they can go as much 4% to 8% of return on whatever they have invested in these things. Even there were recent changes, tax burden on mutual funds. These mutual funds, high taxation allows these high net worth individual to seek alternative routes. Private credit funds, they offer compelling solution. They provide high yields rather than traditional debt funds. India, how it can impact the global market. The size of private credit market at the start of 2024 was approximately 1.5 trillion. It was 1 trillion in 2020. You can consider almost 0.5 trillion has grown in within 4 years. And it is estimated that it may grow to 2.8 trillion by 2028. Even in 2024, India's private credit assets under management, AUM, these assets are under 15 billion. This may go up to 60 to 70 billion by 2028. This rapid growth, this gives huge importance for increasing importance of private credit in India. Also, this signals potential to become global powerhouse in this sector. The growth is driven by strong economic fundamentals, even growth in the middle class, and there is a huge demand for infrastructure development. What are all the different challenges we might be facing? One of the different challenge in India is, regulatory environment. Insolvency and bankruptcy code is there. This is a critical tool for, resolving distressed assets or those who are in default. Now, to resolving each assets, it's almost taking 700 days, almost 2 years. So it is well above whatever the standardized time period. These delays, they undermines investor confidence, even make private profit less appealing, particularly those interested in distressed debt, even special situations also. Reserve Bank of India, in its latest financial stability report, they gave certain solutions how to navigate through these risks. Riskier borrowers, they are compared to traditional lending. Even systemic risk for investors, those who are investing in pension funds due to capital losses. Even there is a complexity in increase in private credit structure because of the multiple layers of leverage. There is a huge liquidity crisis from growing due to retail presence, even increased rights also. There is a great interconnectedness between financial system segments. One sector affects, then it affects entire banking sector. Therefore, banks, insurers, even pension funds, they are expanding their involvement in the private credit. This makes again highly challenging if something goes wrong. So, therefore, the data gaps that gives there is a lack of effective monitoring. Private credit resilience remains untested in a credit downturn. This gives huge risk for losses, even potential loss of confidence in the asset class also. These things need to be taken care before moving further. Next article, it is about collective responsibility to fight global crisis. This article is about women trafficking, basically women and child trafficking. This article discussed in detail. If there is a one crime in this modern world that pose a vulnerability of the human and then that sells human for profit, that is human trafficking. Human trafficking will be worst if they involve children. Children are 1/3 of trafficking victims in the large part of the world. There are certain regions are there which are mostly affected by children trafficking. African Mekong Belt, these area they are highly majority victims, but these crimes are continuing. These organized traffickers, they form a link, they work across the world, they follow one chain of link, like supply chain, they follow certain link and then they go through this mechanism wherein no one can identify. Nowadays we are discussing about lot of technological measures, artificial intelligence, blockchain. These technologies are going. These technology should help a human being to go to next level. However, when these technology fall into hands of these traffickers, they are utilizing for end of the humanity, and then they are utilizing them to effectively manage this human trafficking world. So now we need to think one thing: how to address these kind of crimes that are happening in the world. Clearly, there is a one solution. There is no one such solution for this issue. It should not be addressed at local level. It should be addressed by, it is not a problem of country, it is not problem of the state, it is a problem of the world. So there should be global partnership and comprehensive framework for addressing this trafficking. Most of the time, trafficking will be happening across the border. So these issues need to be resolved in a light manner. First, to begin with, those survivors of child trafficking, they often hold critical links needed for dismantling this trafficking network. They have potential to expose and disrupt entire operation also. If you take in Telangana alone, in 23-24, 1247 rescued children, even child laborers were victims of this trafficking. Each of these children key to entire network. 1,000 children in one state can provide crucial tip off for trafficking ring. So now you may see we have just removed one brick in the wall. You may say this is nothing, but understand when there are 29 states are there in India, each state work towards this. They can move entire the brick, they can break the wall also. Even if cooperation happens across the world, then this issue can be resolved, and then common database with large number of traffickers details can be obtained, and then dignity of the humans can be maintained. With such a global database, many more would be documented, they would be prosecuted. There are chances that these traffickers operating in new territory, they would be brought it down if government had such a global intelligence. Trafficking of children is a multi-billion-dollar industry with estimates suggesting it generates a significant profit for traffickers and then involves substantial expenditure by organizations working to combat it. Understand, one side traffickers are working for their profit, another side government is working for removing the traffic. There is a multi-billion-dollar investment is going on in this area wherein they are earning profit. Government is striving to bring humanity, they want to maintain the fundamental rights. So they also deserve the fundamental right. It's a time that government should take some action. According to International Labour Organization, the profits from forced labor, even sexual exploitation also, it is estimated at $236 billion. That is just 37% rise from 2014. You can consider how much rise there in this sector. Even breaking down the report, profits and poverty, each victim, they are generating almost 10,000 per victim through trafficking, criminal network. There are, total global expenditure on combating human trafficking is very difficult to quantify, but there is a billions of dollars running by government efforts, intergovernmental organization, even NGOs also. One famous NGO is there, Doctors Without Borders. So they fund, there are certain NGOs are there, those who are working for combating trafficking. Despite this significant investment, resources are often insufficient to scale up this problem. Many anti-trafficking organizations, they operated with limited funding. They face challenges sustaining long-term efforts. There is a disparity between profitability of trafficking, resources available to fight. These things highlights need for increased funding, international cooperation, even innovative strategies to combat this situation. United States AIDS, this released a report on human trafficking. This report highlighted that 27.6 million victims, that means 2 crore 76 lakh victims, their trafficking network mainly include men, women and children. There are 18,774 prosecutions held, 7,000 convictions. This gives, the discrepancy is huge. There are 2 crore victims are there, only 18,000 prosecutions. So that means prosecution is not happening. Government institutions are not functioning at this level. So this global crisis is filled with screams of millions of children, and this global crisis is demanding an immediate and unified response. This gap is our collective moral failure. Morality of the humanity has been continuously failing. Even another crucial aspect is establishing standardized procedure for investigation, repatriation of trafficking victims. Therefore, uniform protocols. This will what they will do. It will investigate thorough, transparent, even effective, and regardless of the jurisdiction. There are standardized procedures are there for repatriation of guaranteed victims. They will receive the necessary support, care to safely return, even reintegrate with their home cities, states, countries. This will ensure their rights and dignity. It will be upheld entire the process. Given the vast scope of this child trafficking, implementing these SOPs become more important. We need to harness every resource. We need to innovate relentlessly. We need to commit to future where trafficking is not just tackled but eradicated. Borderless crime requires borderless response. We need to create global framework for action where is data and information is shared across the different countries. Victims are identified, they are rescued, and then they are repatriated with urgency. The proceeds from crimes are traced and attached. Criminals are prosecuted and convicted in a time-bound manner. And then two cardinal principles of look beneath the surface, follow the money are followed. The necessity of establishment of global task force, even comprehensive database to enhance this coordination and efficiency. Additionally, there is a highly pressing need for comprehensive legal framework in all countries, including India, to ensure consistent and effective measures against the trafficking. This is our shared responsibility. Traffickers are going more towards profit. Humanity needs to collectively drive towards justice. Those who are perpetrating such a kind of action, they should be brought to justice. This is about human trafficking article. Next article, this is about the anti-tuberculosis fight. There is a presence of TB everywhere. How it has changed generations across the world. Then it has become major problem even today. India becomes 1/4 of the global TB burden. Political will in India help to drive great deal in progress to fight against the disease. For example, in 2023, there is a missed TB cases. They have found 25.5 lakh patients. They were diagnosed in India having TB. This highlighted strengthened efforts India had taken to curb TB rise. But as we go towards global TB elimination, Prime Minister of India, he urged citizens of India to work towards TB elimination. Therefore, we must look to innovate and deploy proven technologies and tools at our disposal. There are different regimens are there. What is the regimens? There are different procedures, basically issues related with tuberculosis. What author says is, we must invest urgently in new shorter regimens of the drug resistant TB. Those who are having TB, they will take lot of drugs over a period of time. They will become drug resistant. Then whatever the drugs you are taking, they may not act. So he is encouraging to learn India to introduce World Health Organization recommended short regimen drug resistant TB. Earlier, they used to consume 13 to 14 tablets every day for a period of 9 to 11 months or 4 to 5 tablets every day if they have been put up under 18 to 24 month period. This treatment is physically, psychologically draining. Then it has several side effects also, loss of hearing, even psychosis also. There is a problem with extended treatment regimen that requires regular visit to TB clinic for nearly 2 years. This will lead to loss of employment, driving many families into poverty. In 2022, World Health Organization recommended shorter, safer, even more effective regimens called BPAL or M for all drug resistant patients. So there is a lot of recent data that show this regimen is more effective with better compliance. With only just you need to take 3 to 4 tablets every day, patient can complete the treatment within 6 months with minimum side effects. If you see the success rates, it is 89% compared to traditional 68% traditionally followed in India. Even given its efficacy, Close to 80 countries across the world, they have procured this BPALM regimen. Even 20 of the highest burden countries that are having TB, they are already rolled out this program. Even research indicates savings from implementation of this regimen will be almost 40% to 90% of the cost of current regimen changes. If you are spending 100 rupees now, you can spend only 40 rupees. Even immediate transition to this BPAL could result in annual savings of approximately 700 million, approximately in Indian currency 6,180 crores for global health crisis. This is more effective, safer solution to treat drug-resistant TB. Then we must look expediting access to this regimen as early as possible to all the patients across the country. What is the best use of, how to make best use of new treatments? How do we go about diagnosing more people with TB so that they can benefit from this game-changing new treatments? The answer is making sure that we are screening, testing quickly, efficiently to reduce delay in the accurate diagnosis. Most of the times, proactive approach is missing. Many a times TB patients couldn't be identified. This leads to a lot of issues. It is the time we modernize our health data sets. We need to use this geographical indication system mapping to identify vulnerable populations such as those who are having comorbidities. What is comorbidity? Along with TB, they will be having another issues, malnutrition, diabetes, HIV, even former COVID patients, even at risk communities in slums, prisons, those who are homeless also. These targeted multi-disease focused screening drives, this can help be conducted to detect TB screens early, even among those with typical symptoms also. In fact, there is a recent evidence that highlights significant number of people with pulmonary TB, they may not exhibit symptoms with cough, fever, weight loss, even night sweat also. National TB Prevalence Survey in 2021, this highlighted importance of chest X-ray. When you carry out chest X-ray, they detected almost 42.6 cases that would have otherwise, that have been missed. Leveraging these advanced technologies, portable X-ray machines equipped with these AI-driven tools, they can significantly reduce diagnostic delays, even especially in remote and under-resourced areas also. Further, there is a critical need to expand rapid molecular test over less sensitive microscopy methods for faster detection, drug-resistant profiling. This shift will crucial in promptly identifying TB cases, determining appropriate treatment options. In short, what we want to say is, by proactively identifying at-risk population, investing in and leveraging advanced and innovative diagnostic technology, we can improve TB detection rates, even reduce delays and enhance treatment outcomes also. As we look to elimination of the TB tuberculosis and make our country free of TB, prioritizing these essential areas will be critical, and as these will be investing in healthier future for all of us. So this article is about the anti-tuberculosis fight. Next article we will discuss about the carbon market. This is environment related article. In recent budget, finance minister, she told polluting industries such as iron, steel, aluminum, even refineries also, they have to conform to emission targets. Even she told roadmap for moving towards these industry from energy efficiency to emission target that will be formulated. Appropriate regulations for transition of these industries from current PAT mode to Indian carbon market mode will be put in place. So basically what she told is, now presently we are following PAT mode. What is PAT? Perform, achieve and trade. We'll discuss again. Then we'll move into India's carbon market. So how this mode will be put up, all these things will be discussed. Bureau of Energy Efficiency describes this PAT, perform, achieve and trade. This is a regulatory investment. What you will do, certain industries, they will emit carbon dioxide for producing certain outputs. They will be put under cap. So suppose say you can emit 20 billion carbon equivalents. Suppose the industry emitting more than 20 billion, they have to buy the trading certificates. Suppose their cap is 20 billion, but they have just produced 10 billion. Rest 10 billion cap they can sell in the market. So that is can be traded. This PAT is about meeting energy efficiency standard. So producing certain output, there is attempt to use more than prescribed amount of energy. But emission trading, this is cap and trade. This is market based approach in controlling pollution by giving financial incentives for achieving the reduction in emission of the pollutants. These polluters are given emission caps. This is not on the relative standards of energy efficiency but on absolute standards. That means how much you are emitting, based on that only it being taken. Finance Minister announcements, this gives importance to the fact there is a perspective of developing country for India. Climate change is not only equity concern alone, there are even viable options to move away from existing dependence on fossil fuels also. In the last 15 years, India has been trying to decarbonize various sectors to meet its multiple development things, even including poverty alleviation program, providing population access to affordable and reliable energy also. India joined Clean Development Mechanism. This is one of the Kyoto Protocol's flexibility mechanism. This allows industrialized countries to undertake climate mitigation projects in developing countries, in which they could earn certified emission reduction units that could be traded across the world and then that could be used by them to meet emission reduction target. By 2011, India became largest supplier of certified emission reduction units in the world after China. In pursuance of this national mission on enhanced energy efficiency, this is one of the eight missions in National Action Plan on Climate Change. India launched this PAT scheme in 2012. India needs iron and steel for industrialization. Lot of developmental activities happening across India. Given this massive housing demand under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, even lot of people are building houses. So there is rising population. This industrialization puts a lot of industries, iron and steel. Emission from these industries contribute to climate change. In the context of net zero emission scenario by 2050, we want to become net zero by 2070. International Energy Agency, they says there should be a policy brief that gives iron steel projects meeting net zero emissions is very low. What is this carbon market mode? In this international legal system, substantive obligations on climate change mitigations can be described due diligence obligation or obligations of conduct. What is this due diligence obligations? You might have heard, we are following out of the obligation. Suppose say I am giving you the task, because of the accountability you are following it. This is called due diligence obligation. India followed this due diligence obligations in climate change agreements, Paris climate change. Those are called nationally determined contributions under Paris climate change agreement 2015. It is legitimate. India rearranges, even improves upon its existing PAT scheme, even devises its version of carbon market mode within the boundaries of its nationally determined contributions. India's NDC consists of 8 targets, among which 2 are related to energy sector. One is, to bring the reduce the emission intensity of its GDP by 45% below 2005 levels by 2030. Second thing is 50% of India's electric power installed capacity should be from non-fossil fuel based energy resources by 2030. But how much we can achieve, we need to see. We are achieving towards 2030. Since India does not have binding greenhouse gases reduction targets compared to baseline year in pursuant to these NDCs, it is highly likely that India's own version with a carbon market that will differ from European Union emission trading system. India has not taken formal stand on this emission trading system, even refused to mandatory emission cuts. At this stage, emission trading system will be conflict with India's developmental priorities. Why? Because those countries during when they were British populations were there, they followed industrialization. Industrial revolution happened in 1800s, but India is developing in 2000 in 2019, 1990 and 2000, then only our development started. So we almost foregone our development. So that's why India is focusing on emission, but however we can go slowly. 2021 draft blueprint presented by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, they gave 2 mechanisms. First phase, they told voluntary market supported by domestic project based offset scheme, basically carbon offset mechanism. Certain industries are there, they will be exempted. In the second phase, there will be compliance market with mandatory participation of regulated entities, carbon credit trading mechanism. As per this International Energy Agency policy brief, it will include updating emission measurement methodologies to support launch of domestic carbon credits trading system, from 2026. This will include iron, steel sector alongside different sectors such as petrochemicals, chemicals, even aluminum also. India's search for appropriate policy tool towards establishing carbon market of its own choice. This shows climate change debates cannot be built around this equity alone, but they also need to be located in the broader context of socio-economic priorities also. So today we discussed 4 articles. Thank you very much for discussion.